Reform gains ground in Wales overnight as Labour loses a Caerphilly by-election. Plaid Cymru won the seat held by Labour since the Welsh Parliament began.
Now, Reform came second, beating Labour by more than 10,000 votes, and the candidate there says the party will form the next Welsh government. Well, joining us now from Westminster is Reform Party Chairman Dr David Bull, looking reasonably happy, I have to say, and I'm sure whatever we ask you, you're going to say Labour did worse. But seeing as this was a by-election you really invested in, spent a lot of money on the campaign, Nigel Farage visiting 3 times, and polls till very late yesterday saying you were going to all-out win. Were you shocked Plaid Cymru took it? Are you disappointed by that? Is this a worry for you?
Well, I mean, clearly, in many ways, it is disappointing, but you have to also remember this is a tremendous result for us, and that is not political spin. Look, we're 4 years old as a party. I've been there since the very beginning. We were polling at 1.7% 4 years ago, and to go to 36% is a meteoric rise by any kind of metric. Now, you've got to remember, this is a Labour heartland, so for us to do well there would be very difficult. We obviously did that, but Labour pretty much wiped out, going down to 11%. The Tories wiped off the board completely at 2%, which is an abject humiliation of their game on the ground. But actually, there is something else that went on at the same time. We saw tactical voting. There was a massive MRP poll. That's a big poll that showed us in the lead, as you know, at 42%. We saw Plaid was there at 38%. And I think what happened, we know from talking to people that people who voted Lib Dem, for example, lent their votes to Plaid to get them over the line. I think, however, what this does show is the two-party politics is now dead. This was a two-horse race between Plaid and with us. I am thrilled by that result. Of course, it isn't the result that we wanted, but actually, when you look at that in the cold light of day, we've done tremendously well. Clear Powell, an amazing candidate on the doorstep, and I was in Caerphilly. People are sick and tired of what is going on, the abject humiliation of Wales. When you look at the health service, for example, their health metrics all over the place, the care in Wales is appalling, and this absolute nonsense over immigration, saying that we welcome everyone. It's basically it's an open border system to Wales. That's not what I heard on the doorstep. That's not what people want at all. The economy is in free fall, and we've got 20% of young Welsh people not in education, employment or training. That is a terrible state of affairs for a great country.
Why wasn't Nigel Farage at the count last night? Did he fear the night was lost? Because he was there very late in the day. He doesn't like to associate with defeats, does he?
Well, Kate, I don't run Nigel's diary. I don't know is the honest answer. I was actually in Liverpool. And actually, that's the other point that I want to make, which is we are seeing Labour being humiliated across the board. 2 days ago when I was in Liverpool, they used to poll in 2017, they got 84%. That has dropped by half. They're now polling at 43%. By the time Keir Starmer came in, he's managed to wipe off 20% of the Labour vote in Liverpool, another tribally Labour area. Look, Nigel, like me and the rest of the senior team, will be disappointed by that. But actually, for our supporters, for our members, I'm going around the country on my chairman's tour. I've seen 5,000 people over the last 4 months. People are really optimistic, enthusiastic. If you look at our party conference, it was the only one with joy and energy and optimism. Wow. And we're looking ahead to the future. The other party conferences look like a wet weekend.
David Bull, however optimistic they are, it's one thing to win in a by-election. And undoubtedly, it would be wrong to say you've been anything other than extremely successful to get the number of votes that you did. But if, as the polls look like, it is possible that you could be a party of government, you then have to govern. And the only track record that the British public have to rely on are the bits of the country where you've been in government. For example, you run Kent County Council. That's been described as chaotic. Council plans a 5% tax rise, despite you promising to cut costs in that council. There's a leaked video showing chaos and internal rows between several councillors. You know, it's one thing to be a party of protest. It's another to be a party of government. Looking at that track record, the only real instances where you've been in charge, how can the public have confidence in you?
Well, Rob, that is absolutely ridiculous. It was not a meeting of chaos. That was a leaked video of an internal meeting in Kent.
Described as a shambles, the situation in Kent. You've been highlighting the Labour government's track record. We're just pointing out the only bit of evidence of governing in that situation that you have. So what is the answer? Are you a party of protest or government?
Well, this is... Kate, this was an internal meeting at Kent County Council. What it showed to me was Lyndon Kencaran, who's the leader of that council, has robust leadership. What we want to do, and that is what we are doing through Doge, is cutting unnecessary waste. And that is what Kent County Council are doing and doing successfully.
Now, nothing...
But what I would say to you...
Please, help me where you've cut waste, right? So the most important thing is you promised no tax rises, and there's a 5% tax rise in that county.
No, there isn't, Rob. That is incorrect. That has not been decided. What we are trying to do is to actually reduce that so that there isn't that kind of rise. Nothing has been decided. They are going through every single line item, and Kent County Council will make its own decision on the back of that.
What about the quality of the people who are, as it were, standing for reform? I mean, not too long ago, although it didn't appear to impact the vote in Wales, perhaps it did, Nathan Gill, the former Welsh reform leader, pleaded guilty to 8 counts of bribery. He's going to be sentenced almost certainly, I want to interfere with what the judge does, to prison. Now, Nigel Farage said he was stunned and completely unaware of Gill's actions, just to be clear. But time and time again, we see members of reform who stand for various seats, who later on are discovered to have, to say the least, problematic histories. Let's put it that way. How do you guard against that?
Well, Nathan Gill was a member of the European Parliament with me for the Brexit Party. He hasn't been involved with Reform UK, I think, since 2021. Nathan Gill, I believe, has pleaded guilty to those charges. If that is the case, then he should face the full force of the law. None of us knew what was going on.
Just to be clear, because obviously we've given you a lot of time to talk about the triumph that you've had. Just to be clear, he's a former Reform leader, and he pleaded guilty to fraud. And just in case people aren't aware, this isn't sort of, I don't know, a minor thing. This is pleading guilty to putting forward Russia's position on the war with Ukraine. I think a lot of people in the country would be quite shocked that a former Reform leader pleads guilty to doing that.
So I'm shocked as well. It's absolutely unacceptable. Look, I've been chairman for 4 months. One of my first missions when I took up this position is to ensure that we have thorough vetting of all candidates. Now, when you look at what I've got to do in terms of the local, the mayoral and the parliamentary elections, I have to find 5,000 vetted candidates. Now, to do that, I have brought on a team of vetting inspectors who are going through every single thing that all our prospective candidates are doing.
You have done that. Sorry to interrupt you, but just to be clear, one of the worries about reform, and it's actually an opportunity for you to address this. Neville Watson, who was the party's only black branch chair, quit, saying that he was worried, to say the least, on reform's tone on migration, saying it's doing more harm than good. There is a suspicion amongst a number of members, Neville Watson among them, that your party is sympathetic to people who are on the, people argue, the far or extreme right. Certainly, for example, sympathetic to Tommy Robinson. What's your view?
Absolutely ridiculous.
What is your view on Tommy Robinson?
Rob, you're reading the wrong editorials. Tommy Robinson is not welcome in our party. The fact is that we're not far right. We're right of centre. And immigration on the doorstep is the #1 issue. Illegal immigration and legal immigration. So let's just look at that, shall we? So this year, we've had more illegal migrants coming to this country than in the entirety of last year, despite the Prime Minister saying he was going to smash the gangs. People are absolutely apoplectic over what is going on. And this is about fairness in this country, actually.
So why has he stepped back, then?
Sorry?
So why has he stepped back from the party?
I don't know. I don't know him. I don't know his personal circumstances. Let me just...
You don't know. You appointed him and vetted him, didn't you?
Sorry?
You appointed and vetted him. He's in your party. What do you mean you don't know him? You're the chairman of the party.
Rob, I don't know everyone personally in the party.
Did he not give you a phone call to say, I'm leaving? Sorry?
I've got 262,000 members and supporters, and so I can't possibly know every single person in the party. Look, we've got a very diverse group of people who are standing for us in the elections that are coming up, both mayoral, also in local elections as well, and I'm proud of the record of this party. And actually, I think what this shows is the other parties are running scared of the amazing progress that we are making across the country. We're polling at 28% in Wales, 22% in Scotland, 36% in the United Kingdom generally. That would translate, wait for this, into 445 seats in Westminster. That means we would become the party of government and Nigel Farage will become the next British Prime Minister.
I was sort of hoping you would be able to address that, because I think that's a lot of people's concerns about the party. I think people are very clear that reform is extremely popular, but they are concerned about some of the things that members or former members of reform are saying about what's going on within the party. And I'm not sure you took that opportunity there, I'm afraid.
OK, fair enough. But just in terms of what I have done since I've come in is to ensure that everyone who's standing for us is fully vetted. We are growing at an exponential rate, and so we need to ensure that everyone is thoroughly vetted. And from what I know, from knocking on the doors, immigration is the #1 issue in this country. And actually, I think the British people are sick and tired of not being able to say what they think about what is going on. I mentioned just illegal immigration there, but you also have to look at legal migration. 3.8 million people came here under the Boris wave, and these people will get indefinite leave to remain. And again, why are we not training British people? Why do we have 1 million young people between 18 and 25 not in education, employment or training? So the whole point of what I am doing with this party is professionalising the party, making sure we have vetted candidates, because we are growing at such an exponential rate. And that I would agree that actually we haven't got the experience of being in government. And that's why defections like Danny Kruger are so important, because he is now heading up the department that is preparing us for government. And make no mistake, I am confident that we will be in government.
OK, you've made that very clear. Really good to speak to you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.